All right, we will go ahead and get started. My name is Debbie Acker, and I'm the director of the Shelton Leadership Center, and I am the academic administrator over this global leadership and team decision-making minor. We have others with us that are partners with us in the administrative side of that, and we also have one of our students who just finished the program, Emma Norris, so she can. So if y'all wouldn't mind introducing yourselves, and we can go from there.
Yeah, okay, I'll go. My name is Alex Wessner. I am the Associate Director with the NC State European Center in Prague, partnered with Shelton Leadership Center, and I work on the Raleigh side on the administrative logistical stuff. So, yeah.
I also work on the Raleigh side. My name is Maggie Agnew, and I'm a program coordinator with the European Center in Prague.
Hi, I'm Emma. I'm a student at NCSU studying biological sciences, and I just got back from Prague a couple of weeks ago, maybe.
Yes. So today what we'll do is predominantly kind of give you information high level around the academic side of things and what the process is. And then Alex will share some of the administrative application process on the study abroad side for the program and minor. And then we'll answer a lot of the questions and any questions of y'all that are on this actual call. So again, thank you for joining us, and we will get started. So the applications this year will open up on April 15th. They are due September 15th. And one of the things, and the dates for next year are scheduled for January 8th through March 20th. What that means is that, so you're taking basically 12 of the 15 credits abroad. And so, and Emma can talk about this, but a lot of the students took opportunity to actually continue traveling after they completed the March 20th date, because you're finished for the semester, which is great, unlike the rest of your friends who are here, or other students who are in other study abroad experiences. It is a very intense thing, but enjoyable, and Emma will be able to answer any questions and give her perspective around that. One of the things that we are asking, where did my slides go? Okay. Excellent. How did we get to that last line? Okay, sorry about that. All right, so the minor consists of SLC 250, and I have shared with a lot of people, but for yourself, that class is the one that is taught in the States here at NC State. And this coming fall, we do have an online section so that students can take that class in the fall. And before they leave for the study abroad experience, if you're planning on doing it in spring 2025. What we're at, and then you take basically 3 classes that are associated with different disciplines, and there are 2 different tracks that we are intending to do next year. You basically start in Prague and you finish in Prague, and then you go to 2 additional countries. It is track oriented. It's not like you can just decide which countries you want to go to. It is track oriented. But so we start the experience with the capstone. You take an additional class in Prague, and then you move to another country for 2 weeks, and then you finish that class, and then you move to a different country for another 2 weeks, and then you move back to Prague to wrap up the capstone. It's basically modular. So when you are in that 2-week experience, it's totally only on that one course. So when you finish those 2 weeks, you have finished 3 credits. Your assignments are all due in those 2 weeks, so you can fully move on to that next class and be attentive in that space. The only one that's not like that is because of the capstone. You won't have anything to do during the rest of the part. You'll have an assignment the first week, and then you have 2 assignments the last week of it. But you don't have anything in between, so that you are able to fully focus in on your experience with the other countries. How it works is that there is faculty from NC State that tends to teach the first week, and so they travel over and they teach with you that first week, and then the second week, another faculty from that university teaches the students. How it works is predominantly, or the intention is, especially like in the other countries, you are actually taking class with students from those universities throughout the whole 2 weeks. And you're working on projects, you're looking of how you can work cross-culturally, and immersing yourself in that local community. Another big component of the program or the courses itself is that you actually go and do visits to organizations and corporations and talk with leaders, so that you're learning content, but then you're also applying it to that specific field that you're taking that class in. So for example, this past year in Prague, the faculty member was Dr. Porcaro. He teaches from park rec and tourism. So excursions were related to either of those disciplines, but then the content is really around leadership theories, practices, and how does it relate to that field of study. And then connecting it back to your own personal leadership philosophy, as well as leading cross-functionally with other teams from members from other disciplines. It is one where our cohort is very interdisciplined. We had students from, as Emma mentioned, from College of Sciences, from College of Humanities, from different majors there, from College of Engineering, from College of Management. We've had them from College of Textiles, as well as College of Design. So it's very diverse in that. And then it's also diverse when you're taking the classes themselves. So in regards to what we're trying to help you develop for yourself is really to educate you around that cross-disciplinary, global-minded perspective and how that relates to you within your professional field. The other piece is really working cross teams and cultures. And so really applying those skills and reflecting a lot, and then also helping you to think about how to work more effectively and collaboratively with people who may not be of your same origin. So Emma, what would you like to share about your experience in the?
Yeah, so it is such a, it's one of those things that I would suggest, anyone who wants to learn about other cultures to do. So often I feel like we get stuck in the mindset of study abroad, which is essentially going on vacation and living your best life, which happens on this program, but it's also so immersive of I have so many friends from Germany and France now who some of them are planning on coming to North Carolina in the summer to visit us. So it's such a interesting way to really get into different cultures, meeting people. I one night got to spend the evening with a French family, and none of them except their daughter, who we worked with in class, spoke English. And so it was such an interesting, just such a change of pace from what I had done at NC State before. I'm in the College of Sciences, so I don't study leadership theory very much, but it was such an amazing program to just go and do something completely different and get a break from what I typically do. And also I learned so much and made some of my best friends from the cohort. They are all so genuinely amazing. And I was looking at those pictures, just missing everybody, because so many of us are still abroad or in different places now, planning on graduating or going to our jobs. But it's so cool to be part of such a special group of people who will always have connections with each other and really build each other up, because the 10 weeks you're gone, that's all you have. You guys are constantly like relying on each other for pretty much everything. So it's a really great way to just completely change your surroundings and do something new, but meet people who are so kind and wonderful and want to be in the same position as you.
Emma, would you share a little bit about the course makeup and like what is the structure of the day look
Mhm.
like, and like just kind of expand on that?
Yeah, so I will say expect to get right into classes when you get there. It's a lot to do a minor in a couple of weeks. Like it is just a ton of time that you have to spend. So we would get to class typically around 9 in the morning. We would go for a couple of hours, have a lunch break, which was a great time. Like the lunch break was a wonderful way to kind of get to know your colleagues and like or your cohort and go around and explore the city in the hour and a half you had. And then we came back to class and spent more time either working in a group or individually on a project or paper that we were working on or had more lecture. Nothing It is important to know that like whenever you choose this minor, if you decide that it is for you, it's important to really know that you're committing to a minor and you are going to have to spend time thinking about leadership, thinking about these philosophies, reading papers, but it's not so overwhelming that you won't get to explore the cities you go to or have a great time, because I promise like there is so much time to do that, but you also do have to commit to the process of learning those things, because if you don't, then you're not getting what you should get from the minor, which is a really, really strong foundation to go into the workforce and be able to really navigate teams in a way that most people don't know how to.
Do you want to speak to the living and the traveling components that are associated with the experience?
Yeah, of course. So you will be traveling to your like destination by yourself whenever you're coming to Prague, which isn't, if you've never traveled internationally alone, is definitely a very nerve-wracking thing to do. Once you get there, though, you settle into really, really nice student housing. The student housing in Prague is pretty amazing. And then as soon as those like couple of weeks are over in Prague, you hit the ground running with traveling. I feel like I was on the most planes and trains of my entire life in those 10 weeks. I feel like I just spent so much time like navigating an airport feels like an ease now for sure. So you will spend a ton of time with your cohort because you will live, go to school, and travel with them. So it is very important to know that like you are going to be with a group of people, but you guys also are going to have a lot of challenges that you're going to have to learn to navigate by yourself. Things typically don't go the way you think they're going to do or the way you think they're going to go when you're traveling. So I remember we were coming home from Greece on our like spring break and our plane got canceled and we all had to like get around a computer and see if we could get it figured out. So it's not a super easy thing, but once you do it, you feel so proud of yourself because you're like, man, I can do anything. I can travel anywhere now. It's a lot. It is a lot of traveling, but it is so worth it. And it's so cool because you get to really band together with your cohort and see if you can figure things out that are things that most people don't figure out until much later.
And you brought a great point up, Emma, in regards to so the Greece opportunity was something that some of her cohorts and herself kind of planned on their own. The rest of the travel to country that's associated with the actual minor is all taken care of in your program fee. So that is something that you don't take care of. That is something that the European Center in Prague assists with those logistics. It also, for the program, the fee that you pay, it also encompasses like travel passes on any trams, buses, in that area, metros in that area, which is very nice as well. In the dependent on your location, it may or may not. A lot of times we've been really seeking out more of the studio apartment opportunities so that you don't have to always go out, just like how European Center's residence is. But you do have some meals included in that program fee as well, dependent on where you're at and located. So the only outside of the program fee and other travels you want to do on your own or your own expenses, there aren't any books that you have to pay for. Nothing that you normally potentially would have in regards to courses, and then your airfare. So that getting over to Europe and back. So that one round trip is a separate fee from that program fee. But there is a lot of other things that are incorporated into that overall fee. The other thing that's good about this is we've had quite a few students who are graduating do it their last semester. And because this is a minor, your financial aid or scholarships or anything like that can go towards and allow you that opportunity to extend your college career. So that's another piece that I always like to try to help students understand, that anything that you currently receive in a financial package can go towards this program fee. And then there's other scholarship opportunities as well through the European Center and Study Abroad. And I am aware of, like in College of Textiles and College of Natural Resources, have additional scholarships that you can personally apply for. I also found out through the College of Engineering, because of those fees that you have to pay, that fee for enrichment or whatnot can actually also go towards the study abroad. So I learned that this year from our engineering students. So if they just inform them that they're participating with this, that can go towards the program fee as well. Thank you, Emma. I'm sure you'll get a lot more questions. So the first thing that is important that helps connect us to your interests, and I know I've already got some students who have done this, is to go through MyPack portal to the minors CODA and register for the Global Leadership minor. That then signals me that you're wanting to do this minor, and then we connect and have a one-on-one. And I've already, like I said, been having some one-on-ones with students. And then we also talk about one of the things that we are, again, like I mentioned, offering is that online specific section for those who are applying for the minor. And I know we've already got 4 students registered for that section. You're more than welcome to take the in-person if it meets you. I would strongly recommend the in-person, but if you're not able to get the in-person time because it's 8:30 Tuesdays and Thursdays, then I suggest taking that other, unless you are not graduating and you have the ability to put it in your degree audit filing. But we talk about that in that conversation, and then we move you to that application process that Alex and Maggie will talk to you about. So I've already talked about. Do you want to go over, Alex, your side of things?
Love to. Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Acker. So, so after you've registered in the CODA for the minor, and after you've met with Dr. Acker, then you become eligible to apply for the study abroad portion of things. And so that process is pretty straightforward. And the way you get started on that, again, after you've completed the first 2 steps, is you simply go to the Global Leadership Minor webpage, and you'll see there on the page itself, once the application cycle is open, you'll see a red button that simply says apply now. Click that, and then that will basically guide you to what's called the PAC Abroad application system. And the application is pretty much entirely online. So you'll see all the different components that will walk you through completion. And once you Once you've completed that, you'll be done with that portion. You have a progress wheel that shows you how many items you've submitted, how many you have left. And as long as you get that in by the September 15th deadline that you see here, then you've completed that portion of the process. Now, it's again a pretty straightforward process. There's some questionnaires, ask you things that get to your aspirations, motivations, and things like that. So a few questionnaires, but there's also things that you just need to read and sign that talk about different policies governing conduct while you're abroad, things like that. So when you go there, you may see like, over a dozen items, but don't let that scare you or anything, because most of those things can be done pretty quickly. So it's a pretty easy application. One of the things it will ask you, and this is sort of on the point of documentation to get to Prague, like in terms of passports, it will ask you info about your current passport. And so hopefully it should be pretty obvious. You will need a passport to travel abroad. And if you're thinking, oh, I don't have one, am I still eligible to apply? Yes, you are. You just need to make sure you have the passport in time for your departure. So that's the key point. Definitely, I would encourage everyone, if you think you're going, even if you're not sure, just go ahead. It's always good to apply for a passport. Those things are valid usually for 10-year periods. So you can go ahead and get that process started. They do take some time. Currently, the normal processing time for a U.S. passport is 6 to 8 weeks. You can expedite that for about 3 to 5. So passport is needed. A visa, if you hear that, if you think you need a visa, there's no visa requirement for this program. So some of our programs, the NC State European Center, do require a visa, but this is not one of them. So that's if you know about the visa process, be thankful you don't have to go through that. It's a very bureaucratic, kind of annoying process. So no visa, but you do have to have a passport. So I'll leave it at that in terms of the details. When you do go engage in that process, if you do have any questions about that material, or even technical issues like I can't access it or it won't let me in, those are great questions to send Maggie and my way. Just engage us on those things, because we can help you with that really easily. You also see in there an advising appointments. That's a separate thing from Dr. Ackers. That's just basically where we'll meet with you to talk about some of these program elements, like health and safety stuff and passport stuff, and what Prague's like, things like that. So that's kind of what we cover in our portion of it too. So yeah, so as Dr. Acker mentioned, April 15th is when we open the application for the study abroad part. And then you have about 5 months to get that in. And I'll just underscore what she mentioned about the study abroad scholarships. Definitely encourage everyone to look into that. The NC State Study Abroad Office maintains a bunch of scholarships you may be eligible for. So it's easy to apply, it's free to apply, and we encourage all applicants to look into that. You stand a pretty good chance of getting something. And yes, definitely, since this is going to be a minor, it's everything you take is required, and so you meet that financial aid eligibility. And so if you have financial aid that you normally receive, you can use that just as well. That point can't be stressed enough, so that really helps. Yeah, so I'll leave it at that. Maybe for the application stuff, again, don't want to get too much into the weeds. Once you kind of get that going and have any questions, do please reach out to us. Don't be shy about that.
Alex, I'm going to ask you a confirming question, because I think this is it, because it applies to me when I get back next week. If you currently have a passport, how many, is it 90 days after you have your last trip that you need to have at least?
I know that's a good question. So it generally you may see this on the study abroad page. They recommend 6 months of validity past past the time your program ends or when you leave the country. For the Czech Republic, because your program as described is going to kind of end in Prague again, just where it begins. So it's only really required for 3 months. So 90 days of validity. So if you have a passport and you're looking at the dates, it expires in 2025, just make sure that you have at least 90 days plus the March 20th or whenever the program end date is, or whenever you leave of validity. So that's a great question.
Yes, ironically, mine ends March 15th, 2025.
Oh,
So
okay.
immediately getting mine redone when I get back next week. So,
Yeah, and do check that, y'all. I just want to mention that again. If you have a passport, sometimes you forget when it expires, or that's really key, because if you realize that too late, then that could throw a wrench in your plans.
great. So I'm gonna stop sharing. What questions we can, Maggie and Alex, some of them I think are ones that you can respond to. But I'm also happy to answer any of those original questions that were submitted.
Okay, yeah, let's see here. Okay. Oh. Maggie, if you see one on there you want to take a stab at, go for it. Let me just
Where do we see those questions? I'm not seeing anything on my end, so.
Sammy sent it to us, but I'll start with the first one because it kind of relates back to us. So the first question that was submitted was, when we return from the program in March, will we be able to take classes back in Raleigh for the remainder of the semester? So the reality is the only type of class that you technically could take would be a last 8 weeks class. And I know my answer, but I'm also gonna ask Emma, what would you recommend for students to think about taking a class following the minor? I know we don't encourage people to take, sometimes I only have had one student in all the 4 years who took actually 2 additional online classes, and it killed her during the semester. So I definitely would not encourage you to take any type of online class while you're gone. I mean, obviously, yes, you could do it if it starts after the 20th of March. But I think you may redecide that you want to travel because a lot of students didn't think they were going to travel afterwards, and that totally changed after like the 3rd week. So they were already making plans. So Emma, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, it's definitely possible to take a class if you wanted to get back, or when you get back. I would suggest not planning on it because, like Dr. Acker said, so many people got abroad and were like, actually, I'm going to stay here for another month. I know one of my roommate in Prague is not coming back till May, possibly even June. So, because she's just bouncing around different countries. And a lot of people ended up staying much, much longer after that. And I wouldn't close yourself off to the opportunities to do those kinds of things unless it's for a really like dire reason that you have to take a class. But if it's something you could take later, I would suggest like letting yourself have the freedom to either return back to the States and travel here, or just have a chill month left of the semester, or really taking advantage of how amazing the location of Prague is because there's so much around it. So I would not lock myself into taking a class right after the program.
If I could also add something, that's great, Emma, and this reminded me of just a point I wanted to make with respect to what I mentioned earlier about the visa and the passport. So the visa, since you won't be needing a visa for the program, you're allowed actually, and I'm assuming everyone's either like a U.S. passport holder or on a list of countries that the Czech Republic says don't need a visa for short-term stays. And so what that effectively means is you could remain in the Czech Republic, or actually broadly speaking, the Schengen zone, which if you don't know what that is, it largely corresponds to the EU countries. You can stay there for a period of up to 90 days, 90. okay, without then entering the requirement for a visa. And so this the Global Leadership Minor, as those dates currently are January 8th and March 20th. I just checked the duration, and that's 71 days. So that would allow folks to have almost 20 days still to kind of extend their stay before getting into that, crossing that line where you do need that visa. So just be aware of that. Just in terms of if you do stay behind and do some more traveling in Europe, right?
So some of the questions are regarding prerequisites. Some of them do say that they have prerequisites for this minor. Those prerequisites are not required. So for any major. So we had to note it, like for curriculum committee purposes, we had to note it, but for the purpose of this minor, you do not have to take, you are not required to take any of the prerequisites that are listed. So I wanted to make people aware of that. One of the questions was, so we have technically 2 tracks. Last year, we were not able to do the communication track that was supposed to be in Austria because we didn't have enough students that we felt we could afford both tracks. So our goal is to get about 24 students this year for 2 different cohorts. And we are planning on doing all of the classes that are listed. So the only thing we're trying to confirm is one of the final countries. We're not sure if it's going to be England. It most likely be a different country. But Dr. Bacaro will be teaching that class. So that's the only thing that is different. And there's a new faculty member, Dr. Lonnie Carter, who is teaching the textile class due to a retirement of a faculty member, but that's the same class. I'm trying to think. You do not. The other thing is the good thing is Alex actually basically works with registrar to actually upload your schedule. So you will not have to, once you commit to the program, it will be automatically put into your course schedule so that your financial aid and everything will not be impacted by that. So that was another question that was asked. Will there be a 2026? I'm hoping. So it's been a great experience so far, and every year we've gotten, for the most part, more interest. This year we've actually had the most interest in that, so I would assume that we will continue. That is our expectation. In that our goal is to continue to have it and to continue having it every spring. That's the only thing that will not change, is that this time with the amount of impact that the European Center has with students, the springtime is the time that we have the capacity to take students over there for this specific minor program. Emma, would you mind like extending about how do you feel that the global leadership minor intertwines with science majors, since you are a science major?
Yeah.
How do you
Absolutely.
think it benefits?
So it really is one of those things that something that, like, regardless of what you're gonna work. So when we work with in Australia, and it was like how to get differences, language barriers, things like that, and then work in a more to a ton of people from different backgrounds. So this minor teaches you like what spaces.
Oh, Emma, you keep cracking up.
Diversity is everywhere, but learn how to do here. Sorry, some words. I may have to leave. Work is really, really bad right now.
Yeah, I can see that. Emma, if
Mm.
you want to like maybe type that, because I think they can also get the chat. If you want to chat that, like what you think the experience is, and we'll also get that out to them. Alex, Alex or Maggie, do you want to add anything in regards to the logistical questions that were asked on that sheet? And then we can ask.
Maybe we could touch upon housing. Maggie, do you want to talk about the housing at least in Prague? Tell them about that.
Yeah, I can talk about that. So I think Emma mentioned earlier, it's student housing, so we do have a main dorm that we put all of our students in. It's about 15 to 20 minutes from the actual center where you would be taking your Prague classes, where at least where most of them would start. So it's a really easy tram ride or even walk to the center. It's in a residential area part of Prague called Žižkov. But students are usually assigned like 2 to a room typically, so it's like dorm style. We also have single rooms available, but yeah, usually 2 to a room. And then students have a shared kitchen on each of the floors in the hallways. So you'll be able to access that. So if you want to cook, you have the ability to do so. But because it is in a pretty central location, there's a lot of restaurants and grocery stores, coffee shops, all sorts of stuff surrounding the area. So finding a place to eat or finding food is not difficult by any means. But yeah, that's kind of the location of it. Like I said, it is pretty centrally located. In the dorm itself, we do have laundry facilities available. So on the bottom floor. So should you need to do any laundry, I know probably at the tail end from traveling so much, it might be nice to have a place to do some of your laundry, so you can do that there. And then as part of the dorm, we also have our Czech dorm mates or local housing assistants, whatever, student assistants, however you want to refer to them. But they're local students in Prague, and they actually stay in the dorms as well. So if you ever need anything regarding the dorm or even about the area that you're in, like the housing itself, or Prague in general, they're kind of there to ask questions. As far as security for the building, it is a secure building just like the center, so you have to have a key card to access it. So all of our NC State students are going to have one of those cards, and only our NC State students are going to be in that building. So it is secure. We kind of know who's going in and out, and we have 24/7 security and staffing that rotates along the front desk area. So that's kind of an overview of the housing that you'll experience and at the start of the program. And
Yeah, and then in between the sort of bookends of Prague, your different locations will have, you know, similar housing arrangements. So we'll secure housing where you have those supports, those amenities and everything, and you can expect a similar arrangement in terms of roommates. So kind of dorm style, you have, you know, shared rooms and all that. So and we'll have those and nice accommodations for you, secured and settled at each location along the way. Now, speaking of that, and related to that, kind of the same question I see in the list here is traveling abroad. So Dr. Acker mentioned, yeah, you're responsible for getting to Europe from the US. So that, you know, that trip to Prague and back home at the end of the program, you would arrange that on your own. Various reasons we do that. One of them already Emma touched upon earlier. It kind of gives people the freedom to maybe stay behind a little bit later after the program. Kind of they have the freedom to craft that if they wish. But yeah, but once you're over there, the way that works is the travel will be arranged for you. And so you don't have to worry about getting from one site to another, from one location to another. It's going to be arranged for you, and you go as a group. And so that's probably that's really nice. Not probably, definitely really nice. You get to go together. You don't have to stress about so much, finding these places on your own or getting lost on your own. So you'll be together as a group within the program from place to place.
Megan, you had a great question. Is it better to travel with currency for the country you're in? I would now, post-COVID, everyone has credit card. But I would wait to get to a currency exchange in country. Do not do it at the airport or any, like at your bank or anything. You're not, especially in Prague, there's a specific location that I even always go to that has the best exchange rate. And the European Center staff is great everywhere we go to inform you where you should go if you need the currency exchange. Always get a little bit, but predominantly the credit card or even your debit card, as long as you've informed your bank. And I encourage you to inform your credit card and your bank that you are going abroad and where. Any other questions? You can recommend year to go abroad. I don't have a recommendation of which year. We've had students who were sophomores to graduating seniors. So, and honestly, I think it's what fits best in your degree audit, because I know some students are needing to take in consideration their courses for the major and when they are offered. So I mean, I honestly, I don't have everyone has succeeded who have gone abroad, and we've had over 60 students go through this. So I think, I think you're safe to make it what best fits in your schedule. Great question. Any other questions? I closed out my questions. Are there any other questions, Alex or Maggie, that I didn't
Yeah, I think
touch on?
you touched upon most. Yeah, you got most of them in there. Let's see.
I felt like there was one more and I closed it out.
There's did we talk about costs or
Oh, the cost. That's what I was gonna. Alex, what is I haven't seen it. What is the cost and how does it compare to living here, as well as, because again, you've got to remember with this program fee, all of your housing is taken care of, like your residential side of things. And I would say maybe a fourth of your food. But Alex, Maggie, thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the costs of the program, and we'll talk about what that entails. So the cost is relative to kind of what you pay for a semester at NC State in terms of tuition and living expenses. So it's actually currently the cost is $12,470 for the program, and that's basically includes all your tuition, your housing at every location, all the travel within the program. That's all included. As already mentioned, the travel getting to Prague, it's something you have to pay out of pocket, but every travel, every excursion in the program is part of that too. International health insurance is part of that, travel passes in the city of Prague, and there's a bunch of other things too. So there's a lot in that. So if you do this program, you won't have like a separate charge for tuition or anything like that. So it's all, again, built into what I just quoted. Now, in terms of sort of living expenses, the city of Prague itself, I always think it's comparable to Raleigh. In some categories, it's even cheaper. Like when you're going out to eat, and food is usually pretty cheap over there still for a city of that size, especially. So yeah, that's sort of yeah, the program costs, and includes a lot. You can probably, if you want to kind of get more of the details, and if you don't remember what I just listed off, we have a list once you get to the point of looking at our program page. We have explicitly everything it includes and everything it does not include. But yeah, all in all, when you look at it, it compares pretty closely to what you pay for already when you're here in Raleigh. And this is a program, obviously, that goes to 3 different European countries. So that's pretty cool. Last point is we don't have a separate rate for non-NC residents. So this one program cost is the same if you're a resident of North Carolina or some other state. So it's a flat program cost. Yeah. And the last thing is just one quick point too. This is sort of more practical administrative point, but in terms of costs, if you're wondering how that works, at everything, when you get to that stage, we just bill your MyPack. So you don't really do anything differently in terms of paying it. Even in terms of financial aid, paying for it, it all gets worked out in MyPack, just like any other charge, any other semester you're here in Raleigh. So it's really pretty simple process. And the great thing too about this is just to highlight the point is, you know, these are NC State classes. You don't have to worry about them transferring over or not. So you get that taken care of right away with this. So it's really, really nice. And so, yeah.
Any other questions? Well, we thank you for your time, and we hope we start seeing codas and applications. And also, please reach out to either location with specific questions to logistics or those types of things, application process or the academics. We will seek to address them. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.